gonna react to one of the fastest men to have ever walked the planet in his training, and we're gonna start right now. I'm Olympic strength coach Dane Miller. I've been to the Olympics in 2021. I'm about to head to Paris to coach at my second Olympics. I've coached at 10 world championships, and I help athletes become state champions, become All-Americans, become world-class athletes, and to make it to the Olympics or even the professional level in sports like football, swimming, anything along those lines, like even sprint cycling. And I want to go into specifically Noah Lyles training. And what's interesting is that Noah Lyles works with this man right here, Ralph Mann. Okay, so Ralph Mann has one of the best books, I would say, on sprinting and sprinting mechanics and hurdling, and he goes into a lot of depth and a lot of details. And what's even interesting is that he was on Noah Lyles' channel for the second time here, and what's even cooler is that Noah planned so well to post this the day after he won the 100 meters at the Olympic trials in 2024. So I want to go into this video. I want to check out some of the stuff that they're working on. I want to see what they're doing with their starts. I want to see what they're doing through different phases, and then how we can apply that as coaches. I think that's the biggest takeaway here, is learning from experts in specific fields is really, really fantastic. But the biggest aspect is, how can we apply that? You know, we here at Garage Strength will have athletes that are in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. How can we apply it to those athletes versus athletes who are at the collegiate level versus athletes who are at the professional level, and even in sports that might not be super running based? So let's check out what Ralph Mann has to say about Noah Lyles.
So how are you?
I'm great.
Your reaction times suck.
I know.
I think Ralph Mann literally just said, your reaction times suck, and Noah goes, I know. So the biggest aspect, I think, right off the bat there is finding those key metrics and being able to dial in. Okay, first thing, reaction time. Let's improve that reaction time. And I'm sure that Ralph, and I think Noah's coach, Lance Bowman, they understand those key metrics. Noah clearly also understands them in different phases. So that's that first step of application, is understand 1 to 3 key metrics for specific areas of a sport or of an action. I think that's a big thing that we can do as strength coaches to apply that. 10,000 makes the best training gear and the best and only shorts that you will ever need. They're designed with purpose and absolute quality and capability. One of the biggest things that I was hesitant about was, I go for runs all the time. I've run a couple marathons. I do a lot of lifting. Are these shorts really that comfortable, really that good for me to be able to squat and go out for a run? And funny thing is that when I saw that they had over 36,000 5-star reviews, I was down for it. I went with it, and even this morning I took over 10,000 steps when I went out for my 6.7 mile run in these sweet interval shorts. And one thing I'd even say is that when we're doing jumps and bounds and anything along these lines, squatting, sprinting, running, I feel absolutely fantastic with these high intensity interval training shorts. They move well, they breathe well, they're absolutely fantastic, and they're unbelievably comfortable. If you're looking to upgrade your training gear, try 10,000, and we're gonna give you 15% off your first order. All you've gotta do is go to 10,000.cc/GarageStrength15 to get their premium training gear. That's 10,000, TENTHOUSAND.cc/GarageStrength15, GarageStrength15.
Himself.
You really reactive off that back pass. We can't let that foot linger. It's got to hit and be gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're ready, I'm ready, man.
Let me give one more practice and then I'll be ready.
So it's interesting how precise they have to be, you know, especially here. I know everything's contextual, but
You've been asking about, he's all now doing world record start, so all we need to do is get this young gentleman doing this thing.
Hello. Do the function, and replicate. Also, there's a difference between what you feel and what's actually correct. And I'm not here for what feels the best. I'm here for what is the best.
okay, I think this is, especially in technical sport, this is big here, because when we watch, I think people on the outside watch something like the 100 meters, we just see men and women running as fast as possible. We don't see a technical sport. Honestly, like very few people look at it this way because they're on the outside. They don't see all the little things that go into the performance. It's understandable, right? But one of the things that Noah just commented on is when we're trying to accomplish something or improve something, it doesn't matter how it feels, it matters how we're doing it. And oftentimes athletes that are sub-elite will break down mentally and they will say, I'm not doing this, or this doesn't feel good, or I don't like this, because of the feeling, but in reality, it's right. And I think that's a big barrier that when you make that jump to world class, that's a barrier that you overcome internally.
And I'll change my body to that position. What you got the model set at?
What do you think it's set at?
3.
It's set at what we need to make you famous. There's 2 parts to a start, and they're completely different. First 3 steps are just pure power quickness, and the next 4 steps are starting to lift and transition into the full speed. The really good ones hit their 7th step at the 10-meter mark. If you're shorter, it's a little shorter. If you're a little tall like Bolt, then it's a little farther. Noah is basically the typical right around the average height of a sprinter, so he hits the 10-meter mark dead on. When we started with him...
It's interesting too, because it's almost like when you watch these guys run a 40, you'll see that, you know, they're not as technically proficient. They don't have as much time to work on their start. And what he's saying is identifying, okay, the first 3 steps are power-based, and they're hitting that 7-step stride around 10 meters. It's honestly, I've seen a lot of the fastest football guys in a 40 will run that 7-step like to the 10-yard or just past the 10-yard. So it's interesting to, and I would love to see Ralph Mann break down a 40.
Is hitting what we look at for the girls. 20. That's like 9 meters. So now we let them get to run with the men now. So it's good.
So the women will be right around 9 meters. I think too, this is just like this is a little bit of a personal thing, is like this dude is the best in the world. There's so much money based off of what he's doing, and he's showing us like behind the scenes and showing you what you can do, what other opponents can do. And in a sport like throwing, we don't have this. It's so annoying. And I know that doesn't matter to coaches out there, but it's just, I actually think, you know, when you watch Noah's intro, even when you watch the intro, he's talking about what he's going to be working on. Creating content has actually probably helped him become a better sprinter. Like legitimately, I believe that. I'm not saying everybody has to create content to become the best athlete, but it helps because you have a better viewpoint of what you're trying to accomplish. Now, you heard them talk about models. What model are we using here? This is where we can have an overlay then. So we should always be thinking through in every athlete. If we have a kid in 7th grade, what's the model that we're working towards? If we have a kid that's a senior in college, what's the model that they're working towards?
He's not as far off as you think.
And then you see his coach here, along with the biomechanist, it's like being willing and being able to let the ego flow and let yourself listen to the biomechanist about what's happening. Because even as a coach, sometimes your eyes can be deceiving as well.
7.5.
7.5 for the first one is good.
That's a 4, Ralph.
It's 4.99999.
If I saw that on the clock, it would have said 7.49.
You know they always round up. You know that. You don't get away with anything.
You don't get away with anything. Oh, geez, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's what that little scratch sound here. You hear it go. As they're coming out. These athletes stay so low to the ground when they start because they don't want to spend any time in the air. Because when you're in the air, you can't push. So the only time you can actually improve your velocity is when you're on the ground. So in the start, they keep their feet really close to the ground, so they pick it up and it's down again. 80% of the time they're on the ground the first 3 steps. That's incredible. That's compared to like 35% of the time.
You hear that the first 3 steps, they're on the ground 80% of the time. 80% of the time they are on the ground for the first 3 steps. Speed-wise, And it's interesting because I even think about this in a movement like a snatch or a clean. Being on the ground helps you apply force into the implement. If you're a thrower, being on the ground helps you apply force into the implement. If you are a sprinter, being on the ground for the first 3 steps helps you apply force into the ground, obviously. So the discussion becomes around low heel recovery, no low heel recovery, but for the world or for the application for like a lower level athlete, I think it comes back to teaching them how to extend from the hip aggressively, and then how to put the ground or how to put the foot back into the ground as quickly as possible. That could be a good application point.
To go from 0 to 70% of your velocity in 3 steps. Talk about horsepower. That's amazing. He's coming off that block now.
What was funny is Noah was talking and like Ralph, man's just like, I'm just gonna keep talking.
Now we're running.
This is at 7.
I can still even move that back
We
foot
got to
even
get this foot
faster.
off the ground. We got, hey, close that gap. Okay. We're a little pushy.
Got striky.
Just like when we're up, just like when we're up at top end speed, you got to shut the gap.
Yeah.
Shut the gap.
So it's almost like this coach is taking what Ralph's saying,
One more with that movement pattern.
and Noah sees the actual analysis and comprehends it.
7-3 is good. We can live with that.
7-3 is great. But we want 7-2 today, so we gotta put the angles together, put the puzzle together.
Oh, this is fun to watch. It's like a
7, but you're not quite there. So you're between 7-1 and 7. That's about 7-3.
What is the number?
I'm not giving you 7-2. That's past it. But the one before it's 7.
It says 7-3-3-3-3-3.
That's past it.
And what's one click before that?
I don't know. I lost it.
You said 7-0. So it has to be in between 7-1 and 7-2.
We got out there.
Yes, he did.
I think the other thing is like what's really cool here is obviously the system, the program that they're working on is super advanced, but as a strength coach with some knowledge on this stuff, the resources are becoming a little bit more and more and more accessible, which is freaking cool. Now, the other issue here, and I'm actually sort of having this with myself, is like as we get into this, and even when you're working with an endurance athlete, let's see, where are they at? Looks like they are at right now. So we're seeing in the book here where he talks about what makes a great start.
If you pick your feet up off the ground, you're in the air too long. When you're in the air, you can't push. You can't accelerate. It just comes down to that. It's not that we figured it out. We just watched what the best did. You know, you look at someone like Justin Gatlin or Christian Coleman, they figure it out, and we just try and figure out that what physics says is the best way to do it. They figure it out.
So he's like,
About at least a month and a half.
I was gonna say he's got to be like 8. I would say he's 8 weeks ahead of pace from last year.
Quickly commit these things to muscle memory. Little changes.
So since we're so far in the year, a lot of times I don't have to think too much about the whole picture anymore. You know, when we're in December, January, February, there's a lot of, I got to do 1, 2, and 3. Now that we're like getting close to the peak season, I've already fixed 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Now all I got to do is think about like 1.
I think that's a big thing too, is like as a coach, a technical coach, you have to have like 3 or 4 big picture aspects for a full year. And then as you get to a peak, it's 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2. And it's just like real dialed in on 1 or 2 aspects because everything else is so imprinted. And that's the downfall of like a scatterbrain. When you have no model, you can't make corrections because you don't know where you're going towards. So everybody wants to say like this or that or this, but if you don't have a model, you don't have anything to work towards and you don't have those precise aspects to really build off of. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways with this is the dude's got a clear model and he knows the model, the biomechanist knows the model, his coach knows the model, they know the confines of what they're working within. So you have to create the model, you have to understand the model, and you have to preach and teach the model to your athletes over and over again, and then bring it back to your strength model, your sports specific model, and communicate that with a sport coach as well.
Well, it's gonna run away from your end.
Let it run away.
Okay.
Let it run away. Let me get embarrassed.
12 meters a second.
I need something to keep thinking about.
I'm going to have to rechange my betting strategy if you do 12. I'm going to have to bet
More money, right? Because you already had a lot.
You just ruined my joke, so I hell with you. What you don't see is the fact that
I also really like that Ralph, man, is like actually going back at Noah, like in a playful setting, like that he has personality. A lot of people that are white coats can just tend to be like, oh gosh.
So it's really a unique situation where they can actually visually see them competing against something that is so perfect. And as you saw, anybody who look at that start would think that's really great. It takes a comparison model to be able to see that you're a little bit off here or a little bit off there. That's what makes what we do so different than what most biomechanists can do. Am I ready?
He was freaking running there.
That means a stride length is like 2.55 or some ungodly thing. You know how long 2.5 meters is for a stride length?
It's good.
You may be near 12.
Well, come on, run the numbers.
We'll get back to you.
We'll get back to it.
Roll it back to the box.
Yeah. Let's see your precious model beat.
Let's see your precious model. Yo, that's good. It's funny too because you see these guys. Yeah, I want to just share a point because there's an aspect in this book where Ralph actually talks about concepts and what it looks like, and he goes through like the gurus and stuff. But he has these things, and it says how I did it, how my favorite coach did it, how the internet blogs tell me to do it, how coaching texts tell me to do it, and how research articles tell me how to do it. And the interesting part here is like, you see these guys that are coaching, like, you don't need front side mechanics, you don't need these specific things that like the world-class guys have. And then you hear Ralph say like 2.55 meter stride length. Do you know how crazy that is? And they've got like every single practical resource to show this and to see Noah's technique. And he brings up Gatlin, he brings up Coleman, and you can see what these guys are doing and you can see the resource of it, but you still have your internet blog, you still have your internet social media guy who is just looking for the hooks to catch people's attention and to be the contrarian that has this secret thing. And I think that's the big aspect here with Ralph too, is like those guys don't have models. And the overarching lesson, I think, as a coach is like you create your training model, you teach your athletes, you teach your other coaches, you know what you have to work towards, then you take little nuggets out of this, like Noah's comment about doing things that are uncomfortable and not normal, and you take all these different pieces together, and you're seeing why this dude won the 100 meters at the Olympic trials in a stacked field. You see why he's done what he's done in the 200, and you can comprehend how even like creating this cool content enables us as coaches to better ourselves and get the sport that we're in to the next level. So if you guys need help with your training, head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. I think this was a really, really great application of science and with practical lessons as well. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.